Joe! Joe on Joe is the only podcast where Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. It's me, your host, Joe Slepsky, and we're drawing more Zartan this week. That's right. For new listeners, thanks for coming on board. Check out our whole archive. This is the Joe on Joe podcast, where over the years we've covered all the cartoons, we've covered all of the comic books from Marvel Comics, and currently I am working through the Blackthorn Publishing How to Draw G.I. Joe books. So we converted this little audio podcast into a little bit of a video podcast. So listeners, if you're hearing this, I welcome you to keep listening to it, the audio. I do my best to be a little earworm for you, but also check out my YouTube page. You know, youtube.com/showandshowpod. And you can see the video itself of me drawing. Used to draw a lot. Just haven't drawn in a few years. So this is a guy picking up the pencil and having fun with it again. And I was really, really happy because I saw on Twitter, was it Bobby Pelleccia, I think, on Twitter that, or I'm sorry, on Instagram rather, that this little show has inspired some people to pick up their pencils themselves, and I think that's really awesome. I think that's really, really awesome. Yeah, it was Bobby Pelleccia. That's right, Bobby. It was you. You said that you were inspired. So at Bobby Pelleccia, Pellecia, you longtime listeners, you know Bobby, and he's also following through on the How to Draw G.I. Joe. So if you've got these books and you've got yourself an Instagram or a Twitter or something like that, go ahead and start drawing yourself. I think you'll all be surprised at not just the results, but I think you'll be surprised at how relaxing and how fun it is. That's what I'm finding. And this week, last week rather, if you watched, I did a full body Zartan, which was new. I did the headshots only because I was trying to keep this, to a reasonable length. And I think it was a success in the sense that like it was under an hour. I think it was closer to 50 minutes, and that was good. So I'm going to try. I mean, it's not that it's about speed, but I'm trying to not do it for I'm trying to tighten it up. Keep it tight, as the kids like to say. And I think it turned out okay. I was happy with the results, but more than that, I was able to finish it, and not spend all day. So along those lines, we're going to continue that. We're going to do another full body shot of Zartan today. This time, going for more of an action pose. Hey, I was a kid of the 90s. Listen, no one appreciates a static pose of someone staring at you without moving their body at all. No one appreciates that more than me. Trust me. That's my stock in trade of drawing characters with zero movement and depth. So this week, if you're watching, we're doing this Zartan, which is he's kind of hunched over, his arms are up. It's like it's funny what he looks like he's doing. He looks like he's starting to get ready to do a speed skate. Like how they do when they put their arms up for a speed skate and they get ready to launch off. That's what Zartan's doing. So we're calling this speed skate and Zartan. I've got our friend Dr. Mindbender here. He's watching casually in his Burt Reynolds Playgirl pose. I just got him in the mail this week from an eBay auction. I was very pleased with him. Came 100% complete with file card. That was nice. I did not have him, so I'm excited for that. And then final little bits of business this week is this show drops on the 24th. So if you're hearing this on the 24th, but it'll actually be up earlier for Patreons. But this show drops on the 24th. And if you're hearing this in time, on the 25th of July, Thursday the 25th, this podcast will be presenting at San Diego Comic-Con on a panel called So You Want to Start a Podcast, with friends Christian Horn and David Avalone, and Jim Higgins is the host of the panel. And so Joe and Joe is going to be repping at San Diego, which I'm very excited about. I'm really happy. Unfortunately, the timing is that they literally booked it. Not, and I'm in no way saying that the SDCC people should have or would have realized that I'm a GI Joe podcast, but they booked our show is booked at the exact same time that the GI Joe cosplay meetup is booked, the exact same time of the whole 4-day weekend at 11 a.m. on Thursday. So if you're going to the show and you want to go see the cosplay, I get it, man. I totally get it. But I'll tell you what, if you do want to come see the podcast panel, please stop by. If you can't, if you want to see it, but you can't make it, please, please, please shout me out on social media. And I'd love to meet up and say hello. I'm going to do my best. I'll probably try to hit back over where the cosplay meetup is, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think the timing is such. Once I'm done with our panel, I think the cosplay thing will be totally done. So that's really funny though. Like, but you know what? It's okay because I'm so honored and happy that we're doing it and excited for it and spread the word of podcasting. Clean up a little desk lint here. Spread the word of podcasting and more importantly, spread the word of GI Joe. So if you're on social media and you want to reach out and hit me up, you can reach me at Joe on Joe Pod. That's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can send me an email to joeonjoepod@gmail.com. Let me know if you're going to be there. If you want to shoot me a note personally, I'd love to meet up. We're going to be I'm going on with a couple Joe bros of mine, and I'm going to be bringing some like some of the GI Joe board games. I think I'm choosing Mission Critical. Although I probably should do the trading card game because it's smaller, it's less pieces to bring, but we'll see. And so we're probably going to be playing some GI Joe board games, whether it's at the con itself or later at the hotel or something like that. So there'll be some heavy GI Joe talk down there amongst our crew. We also did get our Hasbro, what do they call the lottery tickets. So I did get a spot. So hopefully I'll be snapping up that Cobra Commander exclusive. Was once a man figure from the Hasbro booth. I'm excited to do that. Excited to meet the people over at Hasbro, say hello, introduce myself. And there's a ton of GI Joe exclusive stuff down there, so I'm going to do my best to get as much of that as possible. And hopefully, if we get some extra swag and extra stuff, maybe we'll do some giveaways. I do have. I'm not announcing it now, but I do have from our friend Josh Egbean, his the unofficial history of GI Joe number 21 book. I have an extra copy. So I'm going to be gifting that to a listener at some point in the future. So that's a great giveaway. So I'll probably time it with some Comic-Con stuff that we find. So keep listening, keep saying hello, keep supporting the show. I really appreciate you guys. One way you can help support the show is check out our sponsors, the Movies in a Meal podcast. They're awesome. They've been a great sponsor of the show. They talk about movies, they talk about TV shows. There's so many good genre shows, and there's a lot of good genre shows that sometimes you can't even actually watch it. There's so much, but you listen to a good review, you get a good vibe for it, see if it's something you either want to watch or just something you want to pay attention to. Recently, the Acolyte wrapped up, the Boys wrapped up. I'm sure they've talking Boys. I really enjoyed the Boys this year. Acolyte, I was fine with the show. Like I didn't love it, but it was fine. Like it wasn't offensive to me. I did not like the choice of pop song that they did to close. That's to keep the music in Star Wars classical, please. But it was weird that her how she turned that lightsaber red. Anakin killed a whole bunch of little kids, and his lightsaber turned red. That seemed weird. That seemed like they had a cool idea, but you got to figure out something worse. Like have her do something a little worse than what Anakin did, if that's all it takes. Anyway, that's a tangent. That's neither here nor there. So anyway, so give our wonderful sponsors, the Movies in a Meal podcast, a listen, a follow, say hello. They're really awesome. So this week, like I said, we're doing Zartan in Speed Skater mode. I'm once again using this mechanical pencil. I like the way he turned out last week with it, so I'm going to do a full on body with this. I am going to look for some fun pencils too, because I like using the idea of using fun pencils every week. So I'm going to look for some fun pencils at San Diego, maybe some GI Joe pencils. I'm sure they exist out there. I don't have any. So we're going to get into it, and we're going to see what we can do with Zartan this week. As the book says, Zartan is one mean son of a gun. So we should have fun drawing him in all sorts of positions and situations. Try these shots and make a batch of your own. Next issue will be getting into perspective and relationship to shape, so please don't miss it. Next issue. So that's actually the next issue of G.I. Joe How to Draw. That's issue number 3 with Law and Order in it. And I forget who the other one. It's not near me around. But I know Law and Order's on the cover. So please don't miss it. This will help you tremendously in your drawing of solid looking figures. Good luck, troops. I will tease that next week of this show is our Cobra Convergence episode, and haven't done it yet, but it will be a drawing, and I think I know what I'm doing, and I think I'm recording it later on today, and I hope it's going to be good. It's going to be I think that's what I'm doing. So that's all I'm saying. I've zeroed in on an answer. I believe the other night I was doing some testing and research, and figuring it out. But we'll get there. This week we have a Zartan to figure out. So that's about the size I want to do this week. Also, I feel I'm getting better at my ovals. I was actually going back to last week, I was actually happy, and this is going to sound weird, I was happy with the way that my execution, excellence of execution, my execution of his mouth. I felt like I nailed his mouth in one move because he had a little bit of a scowl going on, I felt like Norm Macdonald there. Hey, a little bit of a scowl, and I was shocked. I shocked myself. I don't know if I probably didn't come through on the audio, but in my head I went, "Oh man, that was right. That was exactly what we needed to do." So that made me happy. So right now we're blocking out the bodies, or like the form, the shape of his form. So I'm working on his waist right now, his back, and so this is his torso. So if you look, it's not like the it's a weird shape. It's sort of egg shaped. It's not really egg shaped, but it's a little bit egg shaped, and that's because he's twisting, and so his neck, which connects right about here, is actually this half circle that cuts through here. It's probably not extreme enough, to be honest, as the drawing is, but we'll go with it. So it's this like his spine cuts through there, his neck starts, he gives his body this twist, and if you see there, that kind of corresponds with the bottom of his leg. So we're going to reference that later. And then his hips, his one hip is off in the distance there, and it kind of cuts over here, and it's going to be bigger, like the reference point, the joint, rather. It's a joint. The joint's going to be over there. So shoulder is dipped down pretty far to here, and then his other shoulder cuts through the frame, and the joint is above his frame. So it's like a full-on over the head shot. That line, the collarbone line. It's more of his, it's shoulder. It's really not really collarbone, but yeah, it's if you were looking straight on, it would probably align with the collarbone. That shoulder line cuts through the middle. I think we're a little bit over. I think we should be a little over here, to be fair. I'm going to erase this touch so I don't get confused later. So that cuts through the middle. Get that arm a little closer to the head. The elbow is right above his head. So this is some of the foreshortening that I think they were teasing that we're going to be learning about next issue. Foreshortening being that when you're looking at something, where am I? When you're like, it's looking like, so here's a pencil. That is a foreshortened pencil. Do you see how meaty fingers? I'm trying to do this backwards here. So do you see how the profile of this is actually really small. It's actually just like that big. It's foreshortened. A lot of you may know that. Some of you may not. If you do, great. If you don't, you're welcome. So his elbow's going to match right up under his chin. And then his wrist is going to pop out right past his head. So we got a little movement here and movement there. And then his knee actually pops past his wrist. And his ankle is pretty much there. Let's see how long that gets. His other knee is about halfway through here, and that is in line with the body there. So I'm going to try to keep this on screen as much as possible, but I don't want to. This camera, I really like it, but it's the views are weird. Sorry, I'm losing you, Dr. Mindbender here. I don't want to lose Dr. Mindbender. The start of his ankle is, and that's the other thing. You can always I don't do this enough when I'm just free drawing, but when you're doing these reference ones, think in lines like this and lines across, and that's how I ground myself sometimes. Is I look and I say, well, like that knee joint, then you look over here, that knee joint is pretty much in line with that intersection. So that there, like that's where I'm trying to reach. Like I wouldn't put it here, I wouldn't put it there. I'm trying to get as close to that joint too. So same thing here. Like his wrist is further out. Can you see that? His wrist is further out from his head. So I'm trying to reach that. Like if this were on graph paper, you could literally do it with the lines on the paper. So use your eyes to once you do it enough, you start to learn to eyeball it a little bit. Again, I'm not saying I'm great, and these are the little chips or tricks that I picked up over the years. And the other thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is so we're going to move to the second portion, is that so much of this, it's teaching you your basics, which is so necessary. And but it's also but what we're not doing is we're not finding your own style, and I think that's okay for this stuff, for this level of, because we're learning, right? And they always say that you have to learn the rules first before you can break them. And style, for my money, is how you break them. Is how you take what is quote unquote real. Like if you're again, assuming you're drawing reality. If you're not drawing reality, then if you're doing abstract stuff, that's a different conversation. But if you're doing stuff that's kind of quasi based in reality, even if it's not a real thing, if you're drawing, let's say, a dragon or something, there are still laws of, I don't know, physics or, laws of gravity, laws of weight, balance, all that stuff that you still sort of have to follow, right? You still have to, it's funny. So if you're looking at this, they set up these guidelines and then they erase them for this version. So like, so let's see. So like where the hip there is, I guess, supposed to be there, but not really. Like it doesn't really, It doesn't really fall. That's really funny. It doesn't really. They need to keep these in this picture so you could see in relation to. Oh Jesus, that's very funny. Yeah. What's up, dudes? All right. What was I trying to say? So, oh Zartan. Yeah. So like you need to. That's that. That's that. So that needs. So this is actually the top. So his booty. He's got a little bit of a booty here. Yeah, like you need to know the basics of your weight, form, things like that, um in order to properly render even things of a fantastical nature. That's where I'm getting at with this. So this type of how to draw books, and there are this is made fun of this a little bit. This is how to draw J. Joe. I believe it's Brigman's does the I know I have it here somewhere. Brigman's does the anatomy book. That book's great, and that really breaks down the form and the human form, and like that's the kind of book where you buckle in and just draw. Um, the human form to figure out how it works, and then once you do that, you then apply your own personal style to it and things like that. But I believe it's Brigman, and it's on my shelf over there. That's the kind of book. So if you are looking for a more real, like how to draw a human form kind of thing, totally recommend those. Like there's a lot of I mean, they do. There's a lot of how to draw books as far as like comic books go, and they how to draw comics and stuff. And I have a lot of those. I have a lot of like the DC put out some really good ones that were done by the real professionals. I find for my money, those are great for that specific form and the specific job that book is doing, which is you're there to make a comic book. Yeah, man. Again, so this is all wonky because you don't really know. Anyway, like you're there to learn how to do a comic book, which is a real specific thing. And the basics that they teach you in those, which are really good, are all coming from a real source like the Brigman book, or like real life study stuff. So I find those books work well for someone who has a solid, I don't say art background, but has a solid background of they're comfortable drawing forms, they're comfortable drawing, shapes, people, things like that. And then that lets you come in and apply a lot of the rules that you learn in traditional art classes to the form of comic books. I've never really done a how to draw a manga book, but I flipped through those, and I feel like it's kind of the same thing. Like if you're still not understanding the form of your people, of the characters that you're doing, you're just emulating the drawing that they have, which is totally legitimate. Don't get me wrong. It's totally legitimate. In fact, sort of next week's Cobra Convergence is going to be a little bit like that. And you'll find out when we do it. My angle's wrong here on this. Yeah, so like that is I'm gonna make his head a little bigger. I feel like it needs to be a little bit bigger. Yeah, they really, it's these books are crazy. again, take all this for what it's worth. I'm not a professional artist, but these are the kinds of things that I found over the years. Pardon the video here a little bit. It's shaking a little touch as I adjust. Over the years of noodling around. These are some of the conclusions I've come up to. Here we go. How's that? There we go. And this is as good a time as any to take a pause and take a break. I'll be right back. And we're back. The important thing that I was just thinking about, move you, give you a little bit more room there, mind bender. Is the see, oh my God, see, look, now wait a minute. These are back now. That's awesome. That's absolutely hilarious. But they're not there. That's so fun. The great thing about doing this stuff is, well, one, there's zero pressure to quote produce, right? You're doing this because should be doing this because you're trying to just better yourself and honestly have fun. That's the goal. I think this needs to be up a little higher, just a little higher. But as you see there, that's that's the goal. It's just to kind of have fun with it. But also, you can always, literally, that's what erasers are for, right? You can always go in and erase. Like there's no, even when you get to a point, we'll probably do some inking on this at some point. I don't think I have really great actual ink. I know I have some pens that should be loaded, ready to go, which I probably might use next week. But I don't know that I have any actual functional India ink. But I certainly can get some and will get some, but I don't think I have any on hand right now. But I guess what I'm saying is nothing's forever. Like you can erase stuff. They sell white ink. You can go over white ink, and the skills you learn here, and this is important. This is real important. The skills you learn here. See, if that circle was there, I would know exactly where the joint would be, but it ain't. The skills you learn here, you do them enough with the idea that they become repeatable, right? And that's such an idea. That's such a concept that as a neophyte artist, someone who wanted to draw and loved to draw, and my God, if you looked at my high school, notebooks, and I was a good student. I paid attention. And through college, my notes were all drawings. Like that's how my brain kind of remembered stuff. I would be like, oh, I was way into the Fantastic Four at the time, so I was drawing a lot of Thing. And what were we trying to learn that day in class? Oh, we were trying to learn, whatever theorem or whatever history thing. Obviously, I don't remember now, but you know what I mean. Like that's kind of how my brain. I was doing it subconsciously, but at a point I realized, oh wow, that is how my brain's connecting things. And I don't know how that got hardwired, but it did. And so when I would go through my notes, it would remind me, it would put my body in that place and time, right? I guess that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's a great way to take notes. Don't listen to me for that. But it was something I always wanted to do. But what I remember from those experiences and stuff. Okay, so here's what's going on here. Back to this drawing real quick. So his shoulder. His hair is being cut off by his bicep, and I've screwed this up a little bit. His hair's not long enough there, so that actually that hair's got to come down here. It's got to cut across Shorty there. That's what's going on. His hair's not long enough because his bicep rather. I always said bicep as a kid. His bicep cuts off his not. I know it says hair's hood. I mean, so his bicep cuts that off. Here we go. That just, so you see what I just did? I saw the problem that I was slowly making. I saw it as it was happening. I was seeing that something wasn't matching up. And hopefully I fixed it. I don't know if I did, but hopefully I fixed it. So that when we remove these lines, which would be covered by his cloak, it all looks a little better, a little cleaner. Because his bicep right there is what's cutting off the cloak. And then that part of his cloak is hanging off his head there. So that's why you get a little bit of a different angle, this part. So this is coming off his head, and then at this point, the cloak loosens up, and it cuts over his shoulder. Get a neck going. But you see what I did? I saw it, and I corrected it right there as it happened. And hopefully, we'll get it to look okay. So that's cool. Where was I? Oh, mistakes. Yeah. So, it in my brain it was always like you hit the landing. You stuck the landing on whatever pose you were doing or whatever, and it was like you got to use that one drawing. Like let's say I was working on something. Like you're never gonna. Brain would tell me like, you're never gonna be able to repeat that, which is crazy. Because these are all, that's why we're doing, that's why we're learning this, to make it repeatable. And that's the goal of it, is to make it a repeatable action, so that you're not just a 1/1,000,000th of a monkey typing away on something and creating something, that you're learning a skill which you then therefore can repeat and repeat in a way that produces. So this is, produces an outcome that you want. The outcome that you want being the drawing that you want it to look like. Like, you want them in this pose. Well, I learned how to draw a wrist, and I know I can draw a wrist in that regard, and so I can alter it a little bit in my brain and tweak it and go, okay, well, the wrist should look this way. You know what I mean? And that's the ultimate goal, is the repetition of it. And man, is that a hard thing to wrap my head around. I mean it, like really, really, really. I think I made his head too big. Yeah. Really, to wrap your head around that is that it's you're doing this to figure out the repetition. It's not to make that one drawing the greatest drawing you're ever going to do, or the one time you're going to be able to do it. Even it's to get the reps in, or literal reps in, so that you can repeat it at will. It's just like a sport. You can repeat it at will when you need it, in ways that you need it. And I'm telling you, that is not a lesson that I learned young, nor did I learn when I finally realized it. Nor it's something I always need to remind myself of. Like, it's so true though. It's not that this one drawing is the solution, and granted, there certainly are going to be times when you do need to produce, when like, someone once asked me to do a drawing for their kid for his birthday party. I was really honored. It was neat. And I drew him hanging out with Spider-Man. It was pretty cool. And like, that was a thing where I was like, all right, well, I have to produce here. I still have a digital copy of it, and I do. I think I do think I did. I think I landed it. I think I did a good job with it. And so that is when you draw on um, your experiences and go, okay, well, I know I can draw like this. And often in those cases, if you're still following, in those cases, you do rely on like the poses that you know how to do, right? That's at least that's how I work. Like I don't stretch when I'm doing something for someone that are like, oh, I need can you draw something for me? I tend not to, and I don't know that this is the most artistically satisfying thing, but like I tend to go, okay, well, I know how to draw this pose in this character, and for their purposes, they need it as tight as possible or as whatever. So I know I can rely on myself to do that. You don't, it doesn't lead to stretch, right? You don't end up stretching your capabilities that much, but you're repeating actions, um, poses, literal actions, like your hands literally moving in the same manner in order to produce a more finished look. So that's kind of, you know, it's important, but that comes from repetition. And then when you're not doing it, on deadline, we'll call that on deadline. You're not doing it on deadline. That should be when you branch out and you try different stuff. Like I don't know if you guys were paying attention, but like I did the Cover Girl issue, or episode. Did a couple or one or two. Did I only do one? God, I probably only did one because what do? I run away from trying to draw. I'm terrible at drawing a female face, and so there's a huge reason why I haven't like just drawn Lady J. Like I'm not great at it, and that's I urge all of you, don't practice what I do. I practice what I preach, not what I teach. Um, is I should be attacking those weaknesses. I should be drawing a million female forms. That's for real. Like that's the only way I'm ever gonna, like, there is a part in my head, I'm not even joking, that is like, one day when I'm dead, or on my deathbed, I'll finally be able to draw like from rote in my style. I'm not saying it's Neil Adams, but I'll finally be able to do like a female face. In absolute truth here, I always think about this. I always go, God dang it, Joe. Like, more often than is healthy for someone who doesn't draw for a living at all, I always think like, why don't I just take a month and draw a woman a day? Like a female, comic book looking, form a day. Why don't I just do that? That just makes sense. I would master it very quickly. I just turned 49 years old. I've been trying to quote unquote, master this since I was 13, like since I, whatever, started drawing. I, I, what's wrong with me? I mean it. Like, it's cuckoo. But I think what takes over is what I was just talking about. Is that perfection? Not that I think anything I do is perfect, but that inability to want to see me, see yourself, not fail per se, but just not do something that looks quote unquote great. So it's like, well, I barely draw anyway. But even when I was drawing more, it was like, man, I'm a little awkward here, by the way. I'm off. I could tell that I'm off. Even when I was drawing a little bit more, it was like, I'm not making a ton of time to draw. So when I do, by the way, I've moved on here. I'm moving down as my own image. When I do draw, like it might as well be the best drawing I can do. But for what? Like for what? Instead of trying to better myself, And I would absolutely say any artist I know would probably agree with that. Like attack what you're weak at. Speaking of tanking what you're weak at, I almost didn't do Zartan this week because I almost ran a rerun because the great, and I mean great, Bob Newhart passed away this week. And man, did I love Bob Newhart. His albums are so good. His shows were great. We grew up watching the hotel one. I think so. That was just Newhart, I guess. You watched a ton of that show. Really funny. Really, just his humor is it's so dry and so amazing. Didn't watch a lot with the Suzanne Plachette one. I've gone back and rewatched that though because it's on streamers and stuff. And man, is that show smart and funny, and I get it. I get why it was so hugely popular. Like I totally get it. But that wasn't a thing we watched, even though we liked Newhart. I remember going like, "Oh, this is an old show." But that's a great show that you guys should seek out and check out. But the reason I bring it up here, like it's a G.I. Joe podcast show. Like, yeah, great. We all love Bob Newhart. But the reason I bring it up and talking about attacking things that you're bad at, I remembered, I kind of forgot I did this. My review for whatever the final issue of Snake Eyes Dead Game was, the Liefeld one. I think was that issue 5 or 6. I honestly don't recall, but it's in the archives. So whatever that last issue of Snake Eyes Dead Game, I feel like it was issue number 5. I was gonna rerun that this week, and if you heard it before, you know why. And if you haven't heard it before, do yourself, I think you'll enjoy it. Do yourself a favor. Check it out. Because it was me 100% cribbing the style of, with all due respect, I even mentioned on the show, with all due respect, respect to Bob, not for, actually not, probably not a ton of respect to Liefeld, but I don't mean that as shade. I just, you hear the show and you'll see what I mean. I do it like a Bob Newhart bit because he did just some of the best bits of one-sided dialogue you're ever going to hear. And if you've ever heard his button down comedy albums, that's what they're called, like Button Down, and then I think it's like, it's not Son of Button Down, but it's like Another Button Down or something like that. Like they released a few that under that title. That was kind of his trademark for a little bit. Check his stuff out because it's older, but it's so funny and it's so smart. And his style of, he would just seamlessly have these one-sided conversations to give you an insight into like someone invented the board game. What was that all like? What was it like the first time someone invented a board game? And so that's what I did for Snake Eyes Dead Game, of Liefeld's call with his editor after he got the pages for that final issue. And I tried to be fair, but it was not kind. And I don't mean that to be a negative Nelly critic. I just mean that as the whole episode was really done as a reader going, I can't believe some of this stuff gets let through. Things like, he has one sword in one panel, no swords in the other panel, then a sword again in the other panel. Those kinds of continuity things. That's what we try to focus on. But give that a listen. I did it in the style of Newhart, and I thought it was pretty funny. You may not. You may be like, stick to your day job, Joe, which isn't drawing either. Spoiler alert. But you may get a kick out of it, especially if you like Newhart. So rest in peace, Bob Newhart. Like, for real, the dude was funny, and smart, and Chicago, man. Chicago based. I believe he was Second City, which is, that's where Toilet Teal, my wife. Here we go. We're gonna move this a little bit. Move this up a little bit. Sorry. That's where Toilet Teal spends her working hours. She's a teacher there. So yeah, listeners, if you're ever, I don't know if you knew that, but if you're ever looking to take a comedy writing course and you want to learn how to write comedy, specifically like sketch comedy, if you take Second City, you have a good chance of getting Toilet Teal. She's a very talented sketch writer and sketch instructor. She has taught people who write for SNL, people who have been, she has directed people who have starred on SNL. She's been doing it for quite a while and is very, very good at what she does. And I say that, ladies and gentlemen, knowing that she will never listen to this, because I have been bugging her since I've started doing these drawings, because she's always, she supports me, in being creative and stuff. I was like, hey, guess what I'm doing? I'm drawing. She's like, what? Yeah, I'm drawing, I'm doing some Joe and Joe drawing. I haven't drawn in a long time. Move this up. She's like, oh, that's great. I was like, yeah, you should check it out. Okay. We're on like, week 10? Toilet Teal? Not seen an episode. I say that with love, because she'll never hear this. But I love her, and we joke about it. And that's the cool thing. When you're doing something like this, she don't care about G.I. Joe. Get it? She doesn't care about comics. She hates comics. You do it when you have a good partner. They support you. It doesn't have to be their bag. Like there's a huge world of stuff out there. Not everyone has to be in the same thing. And the cool thing is, you get a partner who supports you. They don't have to dig it. They don't have to understand how cool it is that they're doing a was once a man Cobra Commander. Like, I've told her that a couple times. Like when I got the email confirming that I got from the lottery thing, I was like, oh sweet, I get that once a man Cobra. And she was like, oh, okay, great. Like, not understanding that's pretty cool. I'm pretty happy about that. But man, I'll tell you, she said to me a couple times, she's so happy that we're going down to San Diego and I'm going with a bunch of Joe bros. And what time have we got? Okay. Going with a bunch of Joe bros. You know what I mean? Like, it just makes her happy because she's a partner who cares. All right. So I'm trying to wrap this up, but I don't know if I can. I got about, according to my little clock meter, I have about 4 or 5 minutes left. So I might have to do another quick break. But I am really trying to get this. It's important to me because I think, not that it's important to get stuff done fast, but I like the challenge, of keeping this all under a certain time, so we don't get too crazy. But even if I do have to split and do another, set another for my recording, this I'm using, what's it called? Clipchamp, I think, off Microsoft. It records in 30-minute batches. So that's why, like, every 25 minutes or so, I'll pause and just restart, which is fine. That also gives me a good time for a little, like a timer to internal clock kind of a thing. Yeah. So see if we're there. So I'm losing a little bit. I'm starting to lose, as I'm doing this, I'm starting to not lose a little bit of my visual perspective of where things are going to be. And I'm just kind of drawing as the figure goes. It's just not terrible, but it's not as, we'll say whatever photo accurate as we were going for earlier when we started this. I'm just kind of drawing as we go, which is also fun. I mean, that's how you eventually have to start doing it. So when I started drawing, I'll save those stories for next week. Zartan's got a lot of buckles. His belts or shoes rather are really buckled up, man. I don't think I ever realized that. And this is, I guess, this is what his figure looked like. Holy cow, is he buckled up? I need to get a Ninja Zartan, the Mad Max looking one. I don't think I have one of those. I did update my G.I. Joe app, the My Joe's app. I like it. If you're listening, for Bjorn, not Bjorn. I forget your name, but we corresponded over email a little bit, and we lost track of each other. And I think you got back to me a little while ago, and I need to get back to you. I really like that app, man. I really do, guys. It's working pretty well for me. This is the My Joe's app. I talked about this a while ago, like a year ago. But it does the job. Like, he's updated it. It holds it's got all the, like, the accessories you're missing. Like it does a nice job. You can add your own pictures, so you can, if you can make sure you keep track of the exact kind of quality of the the actual figure that's in your hand. If you wanted to do that, that's something that you care about. Or the file card, you can literally take, it's got, you scan your actual file card, so good, bad, ugly, cut, uncut, whatever. So this is a little off here. So we're going a little off because I got off a little bit here. So I'm going to improvise and do that. There we go. One of these lines doesn't belong. We're going to say it's that line. All right. We're about to hit our reset mark. And when I come back, we are going to be just minutes away from finishing this. So when I come back, we're gonna erase some of these lines. We're gonna dig in, finish his hand, and yeah. So I'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. Yeah, it's I was pausing to let the files render and stuff. I could see where, like, a little bit where I lose the angle and the thread of what I'm drawing here. Like, his head's not as his head's not as angled as it should be, or or at least as it is in the picture, and he's certainly not as sinister looking as he is in the like in the final version. Some of it, frankly, is just like level of detail that I can get, with this pencil, etc. But it's also, 100% is also like angles of me looking at the page and kind of losing thread. There we go. Sorry if that, I just blew into the microphone. That was instinct. Eraser clean instinct. But yeah, like his head's definitely not as cockeyed as it is in the original picture, and also some of the yeah. Anyway, it don't matter. That's the thing, whatever. It don't matter. Your style is how you try to, when you replicate another work, the difference between that other work and your finished product, that's your style. So we're all here to find our style, right? Boom, boom, boom. Little bicep coming out there. Moving into his wrist and his glove here. And there we go. That glove's down there. I do plan on next week at the con bringing my microphone, which I haven't really done a lot before. I've really done a lot of con interviews, but I think I'm going to do that this year because why not, right? I got a lot of time to kill. I'm seeing a lot of stuff, hanging out. I think I'll be looking for G.I. Joe fans. That's kind of my plan. Not just, maybe some randoms, but really looking for Joe fans and people with G.I. Joe shirts and people in line for G.I. Joe things and saying, hey, man on the street kind of stuff. So in my typical fashion, I'm probably going to find a fun hook. Like I genuinely don't like just doing random interviews with people. That it totally works for a lot of people on a lot of shows. I'm not as interested in that. Like, I like coming up with a gag. I don't know what that gag's going to be, but like a man on the street kind of a thing, like they do on late night shows or what have you. So he's got 2 fingers up in the air. He's giving a little bit of the shocker. And you got finger down, and then bring that in there. Yeah, if we were inking, the inks would sharpen up a lot of this, to be frank. Some of this bluntness is just because it's a, pencil lead tip that just gets worn down, which is totally fine. Fine with me. Okay. So I just completely shattered Dr. Mindbender. Sorry, buddy. We're in the home stretch here. We gotta wrap this up. I don't have time for your hijinks, Mindbender. Let's see there. What are we missing here? He's got a little bit of belly, a little bit of shirt belly. Get in my belly. Doing that. A little bit of knuckle there. A little knuckle there. Yeah. So that's the other thing too. Is you got to remember, listeners, for the most part, when you're looking at what's on a printed page, and even to be honest, that's why a lot of these like how to draw books are really cool. Is you're seeing the final inked product, right? You're seeing not the original artwork. You're seeing the artwork from the from the penciler that's been negotiated via a very crisp black line, ink line. So books like this, books like those artist editions that IDW puts out, those are so cool for artists and people just trying to learn the craft, because you really do get to see the insight into the original stuff, and once you understand that, then you can get a better appreciation for the final product, certainly, but also a better perspective on what may or may not be your own shortcomings. And you see, oh wow, that this person didn't just sit down and draw a perfect face. They did the oval. They did the, they drew it too big, and then you can see that they erased it and drew it. When you look at some of the artist editions, you can see the erasure lines. You see that, oh wow, whoever, fill in the blank, Jack Kirby wasn't perfect. McFarlane wasn't perfect, whatever, whoever. You see all that, and that is huge. It's like when you watched that Beatles documentary and you saw them working on the songs that you loved and by heart, but they don't know them yet because they haven't created them yet. And they're doing terrible versions of a song you love, but you're like, oh, they're literally in the process of creating it. And you have to go through all these iterations to find the iteration that works. 100% the same thing with drawing. Same thing with creating anything, really. But, I think that's an example that we're all familiar with. So, any hoodle. Yeah, I think this will do for now. This will do, pig. So, little, his needs a little weird, but yeah, got a little off perspective. Also, what happened here down here, I could see that my head was at a different angle. So like his leg should be a little more that way. That's extreme, but it should be like a little more this way instead of it's a little more that way. And I think it's because I was sitting at a different angle. But like that angle, I think is okay. Yeah, totally. That's interesting. But here we go. It's Zartan. And we're going to give him a sticker. I don't know what sticker. What do we got? What do we got here? Stickers. Oh, here we go. My 90210s. We're going to give him a Dylan just because. Again, I don't know why. I just have these 90210 stickers in my box. And, why not use them? What are they going to do? Sit in the box all day? I do have some A-Team stickers. I don't expect to use those for anything because they're awesome. I want to keep those. But, listeners, here we go. Zartan, getting ready to be a speed skater. I hope you all enjoyed this. I absolutely love doing this. Let me know. Please let me know if you guys are enjoying this. I know it's kind of taking over the show, but it's this era. That's what this era is going to be. Draw with Joe for a little while. And I'll be doing back to some interviews here and there. We're working on some Action Force related stuff with a friend of the show and an exciting project that you'll be seeing in the early fall, I think. So that's exciting. Get ready for that. And in the meantime, next week is Cobra Convergence. Let's also next week when you hear this is Cobra Convergence. Next week when I record this is San Diego Comic-Con. So if you're in San Diego, please reach out to me. I'd love to meet you. And we'll talk some G.I. Joe. We'll hang out a little bit. That'd be absolutely fantastic. So give me a holler. You guys know how to reach me. Thank you all so much for listening and for watching. And now you, Joe. And Joeing is half the battle.